how to vectorize clip art designs, which is a painful sentence. And however, maybe you got thrown in this situation and you were asked to make a bunch of shirts, so you threw something together and then someone threw out that word vector. You need a vector file. If this is your situation, this video is for you, so follow along. Okay, so once you have your clip art or whatever you created, I'm assuming it's in a non-traditional program, so I just threw something together in Word just to show you an example of what clip art might look like. So from here, I'm going to do File and Save As, and then once you've saved it, you can then do Save as Adobe PDF. Once you have your file saved as a PDF, I want you to open it in Illustrator. So the great thing about PDFs is it maintains a lot of the lines and proportions that already exist, and it keeps it a pretty high quality. So once I pulled it into Illustrator, as I'm hovering over this with my selection tool, I can tell the text maintained its properties. It did separate this E from whatever reason. Letter A in Africa is also isolated. So this isn't a big deal because I'm going to just keep the same text, but if you wanted to, you could go to your type tool and change the lettering here. If this image didn't come in completely as it did, there would be an image trace option over here. But because I saved it as a PDF, because it was all pretty clean lines, it transferred pretty easily to Illustrator. The text, however, is not vectorized. This line underneath it means it's not vectorized. If I quickly change to outline on my computer, you can see how the vector lines exist. This outline of the shape is what a vector line ultimately is. Clear mathematical equations separating one thing from another. So flipping back on my preview, I'm now going to use my selection tool to select everything on the page and then go up to Object in the menu bar and click Expand. This is going to expand the lines of everything. Now when I hover over the word serve, you can see it looks a little bit different. Going back to my outline, now you can see all the letters that are outlined, meaning I've vectorized all of them. Now the one additional thing you see is this border from the clip art that I created. Now if you were to put this on a vinyl cutter or some other situation, that border outline would actually come into being a cut in your printer, which is not what you want. So I'm going to go back and preview. The next thing you're going to do is select it all again, and I want you to open up the Pathfinder option. So window, Pathfinder. I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to click this trim option. Now you can click around to see which option works best for your clip art and what you're working with, but you can see this kind of flattened it all together. So if I go view, back to outline, you can see that worked a lot better. Now I'm getting this extra line in the E. So one thing I like to do is just zoom in on each of these things and use the shape builder tool. So I'm going to zoom in on this letter E, knowing that it's an issue for me. Select it with my selection tool. And then I'm just going to use the shape builder tool and drag a line right through it. Okay, I lost my coloring. Okay, and you see since that lettering was actually grouped, it changed everything when I changed the color black. So I'm going to undo that, and then first I'm going to ungroup it in the properties panel. You'll see the ungroup button. Then if I click away, I can select just the E to change that color to black. Okay, now let's double click the hand button and zoom out. Okay, now just to do one more check, I'm going to select everything, go up to View Outline. One thing to notice is when I clicked all this, you see all those tiny little lines? That's an excessive amount of anchor points. So what I would do in here, if it was me, I would go through and click the Smooth tool and just kind of comb over some of this to eliminate some of the anchor points. You don't have to do that, but it does make cleaner cutting if you smooth things out. But I'm just going to comb through here and edit some of that. The most important thing about vectorizing your file is the way that you save it. So there are 3 industry standards for vector files. AI, Adobe Illustrator, SVG, and EPS. Those are the only 3 files that can serve as vector file types. Now, some people may accept PDFs because they're willing to do a few more steps to get them in line, but the 3 acceptable formats for you to have a respectable vector file are Adobe Illustrator, EPS, and SVG. I'm going to save mine as AI. This is an AI file. So save it, then you're free to send it off, and now you have your vector design. Decide that you don't want an artboard this big, you can always use your artboard tool and shrink it up. Not a very big deal. Subscribe and follow along for more design tips.